Why did Jesus wash his disciples' feet? Ask most people, and they'll give you one word: humility. And they're not wrong. But humility is not the reason, because there was someone at that table, one man, who changes this entire story, and almost every version you've ever heard walks right past him. So stay with me, because by the end, you will never picture this scene the same way again. Here is what I need you to understand before we take one more step. This is not a gentle little story about being polite. What Jesus did in that room was so far beyond humility that when you finally see it, it should stop you cold. But to feel the weight of it, you have to be in the room. So let's go back 2,000 years to a borrowed room on the worst night of his life. It's the last night before the cross, and Jesus knows it. A borrowed upper room, high above a crowded Jerusalem street. The air is thick with lamp smoke and the smell of warm bread. And around a low table, reclining on cushions, are 13 men. 12 of them have followed him for 3 years, and one of them is already gone. But before any bread is broken, before a single word is spoken, something in this room is wrong. Something small. Something every man there would have noticed the instant they walked in, and something we, reading it centuries later, almost always miss completely. To see it, you have to look down, at their feet. And in that culture, this was not a small thing. A shared meal was sacred. To recline at a man's table with the filth of the road still on your feet was an insult to your host and to every man stretched out beside you. Everyone in that room could feel it, and the longer that basin sat there untouched, the louder the silence became, because their feet were truly filthy. And I don't mean a little dusty. The roads of first-century Judea were shared with donkeys, with camels, with every animal driven to market. There was no drainage, waste ran in the open street, and people walked those roads in thin open sandals or barefoot. So every step you took, the road came with you. Dust, yes, but also mud and filth and things far worse than either. By the time you reached a house, your feet carried the whole street on them, which is exactly why, in any decent home, something happened the very moment a guest stepped through the door. A servant would be waiting, and that servant would kneel and wash each guest's feet before they ate. But here is the part that matters. Washing feet was not just an unpleasant chore. It was the single lowest task in the entire household. So low that under Jewish custom, you were not even allowed to force a Hebrew slave to do it. It was beneath the beneath. Now look back at that upper room. The water jar is there, the basin is there, the towel is there, but there is no servant. No one has been given this job, which means someone in that room has to lower himself to the floor, or 13 men eat the Last Supper with the filth of Jerusalem still drying on their feet. And so, nobody moves. And there is a reason nobody moves, because on this very same night, Luke tells us this plainly, these men had been arguing about which one of them was the greatest. Sit with that. Hours before their teacher is arrested and killed, and they are fighting over rank. Not one of them will pick up that towel, because to pick it up is to admit you are the least. So they just sit there, dirty feet, proud hearts, and a basin nobody will touch, until Jesus stands up. And John, who was in that room, slows the story down to almost nothing right here, because he wants you to see every single movement. Jesus rises from the table. He takes off his outer robe, and he lays it aside. Then he takes up the towel, the servant's towel, the one nobody in that room would touch, and he ties it around his own waist. The uniform of a slave. He pours the water into the basin with his own hands, and the Lord of every man in that room lowers himself to the floor in front of their filthy feet. You could have heard a pin drop, and Peter cannot take it. When Jesus reaches him, he pulls his feet back and says, "Lord, you will never wash my feet, never. It is too wrong." The teacher does not kneel before the student. The master does not scrub the servant's dirt. And Jesus answers with something strange, something that turns a bowl of water into something eternal. "Unless I wash you," he says, you have no part with me. And Peter, who never does anything halfway, gives in completely. But keep your eyes on the room, because Jesus is still moving, down the row, foot by foot, and he has not skipped a single man. And don't miss who else was in that row. He washed the feet of Peter, who before sunrise would swear he never even knew him. He washed the feet of Thomas, who would refuse to believe he had risen. He washed the feet of all of them, every man who would run and scatter and hide within a few short hours. He knew each of their failures too, and still he washed them. So go back to that table, and this time count them, 13 men, 12 disciples, and Jesus, and John, the one telling us this story, the one who was actually there in the room, has already slipped us something the others leave out. Something he wants us holding in our minds as we watch these feet get washed, one by one. Here it is. Before the water ever touched a single foot, before Jesus ever tied that towel, the betrayal had already been set in motion. The deal was as good as done. 30 pieces of silver. One of the men reclining at that very table had already decided, deep in his heart, to sell him. And John does not leave us wondering whether Jesus knew. He tells us plainly, Jesus knew. He knew who it was. He knew what was coming. He knew that within hours, one of these men would lead armed soldiers to him in the dark. He knew the name, he knew the face, and still he knelt. And understand this, it was not a stranger. This was a man Jesus had chosen with his own mouth, a man he had walked dusty roads with for 3 years, a man who had eaten from the same bowl, slept under the same open sky, and been trusted to carry the money for them all. A friend. That is what makes what happens next almost impossible to bear. Because as Jesus moves down that row, lifting each foot into his hands, washing it, drying it with the towel tied at his waist, he comes, 1 foot at a time, closer and closer to him, to the feet of the one man in that room who was about to destroy him. And here is the question the whole story has been holding its breath to ask. What does he do when he reaches those feet? The feet that would walk straight out that door and betray him. Does he skip them? Does he pull his hands back? Does grace, at long last, finally hit a limit? Judas. He washed the feet of Judas, knowing, fully knowing. Jesus took the very heel that would turn against him, cupped it in his own 2 hands, and he washed it clean. Think about what that means. The same hands that would soon be nailed to a cross, gently pouring water over the feet of the man handing him to those nails. No lecture, no exposure. He did not stand up and announce the traitor to the room. He knelt lower. He served him. He loved him, all the way to the very end. So that is why he knelt. Not only to teach humility, though he did teach it, he knelt to show you exactly how low love is willing to go. This is the answer almost every telling walks straight past. The foot washing was grace, grace handed to the betrayer before the betrayal, poured out freely on the one person in that room who least deserved a single drop of it. No apology was demanded first. No change of heart was required first. No reward was waiting at the end of it. Jesus knelt in front of the worst of them and washed him clean, simply because that is who he is. That is what love does when it has nothing left to prove and everything left to give. And maybe that is the hardest part of all to believe. Not that grace like that existed once in a room 2,000 years ago, but that grace like that could ever possibly be meant for someone like you. Because that basin was never only about Judas. If Jesus could kneel for the man who sold him, then there is no one and nothing too far gone for that water. Not the thing you did, not the person you are afraid you've become, not the part of your story you would never say out loud. If grace could kneel for Judas, it can kneel for you. So let me ask you something, and I really do want your answer. Is there a part of you that you have quietly decided is too far gone for that basin? Tell me below just one honest sentence. I read every single comment on this channel, and I will be looking for yours. And here is what keeps me up at night. If Jesus knew exactly what Judas would do and washed his feet anyway, then why did he still let him get up and walk out that door to do it? Why not stop him? That is the very next question we are answering on this channel. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and I'll see you there.